Um, that what's unique about this expedition is will be essentially the first kind of main public expedition, and it's particularly the first expedition in a different region where Choice Ecuador is operating. And so everything's new in terms of expeditions plugging into the work that the Ecuador team's done. And so it's really important for communities who are just getting familiar with the Ecuador team. Choice kind of merged with another organization over the last now about 2 years. And so it's a newer area for the in-country team, newer sets of community. So those relationships and trust are really strong. So us being able to fulfill on that commitment meant corporate partnerships. Let's do what we can to make sure this trip moves forward. And we got a great group. Thanks to Drew and Chad and all sorts of people and yourself who kind of rallied with shorter notice, which is awesome. So a little backstory there. We'll maybe skip Peter for a minute. We'll do some leader introductions after that. Maria, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Maria, and I've been interning with Choice for a year and a half. I help translate and whatever they need me to do. And I'm actually from Ecuador, so if you have any questions.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
You're my childhood.
Don't check out the photos. I've been in it. Love it.
That's wonderful.
Abrisha, you want to introduce yourself over there?
Hi, I'm Abrisha. I just switched jobs from working with a catering company to a food broker, but working with Cuisine Unlimited, I was able to get the opportunity for you guys to come, and I definitely wanted to take it. So this is my first expedition, and I'm pretty excited.
Great. And how long have you known Choice for? Jeez.
I've known about Choice and done things with Choice probably since 2009, but not as far as like expeditions or anything like that. Just through Cuisine Unlimited.
Okay, awesome. And have you traveled abroad much at all? Boy, this
No.
is.
Nope.
Have you at least made it to Canada?
I've made it to Mexico once.
Ooh.
How far into Mexico?
Past Mexico City.
Mexico City.
Oh, Mexico
This
City.
is like San Carlos.
Okay. Well, I don't know which is more international, Canada or Mexico.
Probably Canada.
Awesome. All right, we got another lawbreaker. Do you see why I said it's not that weird when I see people call in from cars? We have 2 people from a very small sample size. This is like 20% of the expedition right now is being briefed while driving. Like our odds are not that crazy. Great. Who do we have joining us? We're just doing some introductions.
This is Scott Foster.
Awesome. All right, this is our man with some musical talent, right?
Yes, sir.
Great. Well, Scott, we're just doing some introductions. Do you want to? And I'm trying to chase here our recording. That's much better. Do you want to introduce yourself? How you got looped into this? And also, yeah, what do you do?
Sorry, can you say that once again? I've got you on speaker, but I'm having a hard time hearing just highway noises.
Well, you're on a freeway, and we've got you on speaker too. We are just introductions. How you got connected to Choice and this trip, and a little bit about yourself.
I've been aware of Choice Humanitarian's existence for probably close to 10 years now. Some really good friends of mine have been affiliated, the Cameron family.
Oh,
Josh
cool.
Cameron and his parents. And then, but most recently through Peter Coates. So I'm a musician. I make my living half the year traveling around the country playing music. And the other half of the year, I'm usually diving in the Bering Sea, running a gold diving operation. So.
What an uninteresting life.
Yeah,
That just sounds
just
so
most
dry.
people, they say I was never good at focusing on stuff, so I just focused on whatever I wanted.
Well, awesome. That's great. I take it you're bringing an instrument of some sort?
Of course.
Wonderful.
It was a requirement.
Yeah, I think there's like a little box you check in the application. Awesome. Well, great to meet you. This is going to be a really diverse group, which they usually are, but I feel like this is shaping up to be a pretty cool one. Cool. Let's see. We've got someone, or Keith, actually, do you guys want to introduce yourselves while we got you on there?
Yeah, you bet. I'm Keith. I'm on staff, and I've been with the organization probably, I think, 14 years now. I actually remember when Jordan went on his very first expedition with his family, so a long time ago. But I'm so excited to be on this expedition, and it's the first time I've ever been to Ecuador. And I want to give a little shout out to Maria. She didn't say anything, but Maria is an amazing volunteer for this organization, and I'm so glad she's coming. She works with us every Wednesday. She comes in and does amazing work. So really happy to see you on this expedition, Maria. And then my daughter's going to be going. She can introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Jessie. Yeah, Dad roped me into another expedition. This is my second choice. And I've actually been to Ecuador once before. I was working on another project, so I'm really excited to be coming back. Yeah, I'm excited to come.
Jesse, where was your other expedition?
Guatemala.
Okay, nice. Well, great. And then we've got one more who just joined us. If you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Cami. I've been to Haiti before, but not the choice. I'm excited to.
I think it's just a good microphone.
Awesome. Can you guys see us over there?
You should get an external mic.
We can't hear everyone.
Just having a hard time understanding folks around the table.
Yeah, that was Cami. She's been all over. She's been to Haiti. Also a musician. She plays the clarinet. She's going to bring it. And she has a repertoire of Ecuadorian songs in Quechua, which she will be performing. So we're just so lucky. Also going to Galapagos, she said. So no. But yeah, so she's got some travel. Can you guys, I'm trying to figure out why.
They can see it.
Can you guys see me?
They can adjust the picture.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys can adjust the picture however you would like.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So have I caught everyone who was on the phone calling in on the road? Did we miss anyone? Okay, great. Well, hopefully there are no accidents from you all. We're going to take a little bit. If you are calling in, if you want to just mute your phones for a little bit, we'll dive into some of the content, and then from there we'll pause it, open up some time for questions. But if you're driving or calling in, just go ahead and mute that. We would appreciate it. Talking to you, who we hear on the freeway there. I also think I have the liberty to, I think we're good. Great. So just a recap of what we're going to be talking about tonight. So we've covered some introductions. I'm going to take a minute to also just add a little bit more detail to your trip leaders and why they were chosen and kind of some of their backgrounds. And then just so you know how the content will flow tonight in terms of questions, things like that. We're going to take 45 minutes to get through this stuff, and questions, if you have them while we're talking. Smaller group, we can totally dialogue through that. You don't need to wait. But I'm going to cover briefly the choice model of development just as a primer. We're going to spend most of our time on the itinerary, Q&A about what that means to be on an expedition, what it doesn't mean, go over some packing items, talk at a high level about the village and project. And then we'll wrap up with some more packing suggestions, things like that. So with that, I feel like you guys are kind of uniquely positioned for two leaders who are really fit well for this trip. I mentioned that Ecuador and Peru, another country, merged into choice about 1.5 years, almost 2 years. There were development operations through another organization in both of those countries, and they primarily focused on agriculture. But because of that adoption, they've expanded kind of their scope, and you'll learn all about that. And one of the new activities is to allow expeditions to come in and support and learn from some of the work they're doing. So what that means is here at Choice, we have limited leaders with experience in Ecuador. And so we're lucky to have Peter Coates coming with us. Peter has been leading expeditions and involved with Choice for how long, Peter?
Probably 6 years.
6 years. And I did defer your introduction. So with that, you want to give some more context to how you got involved and which countries you spent time in? And
Yeah. So I got involved with Choice. I found out through a guy that his name is Seth Wheeler, and
I know Seth
he
Wheeler.
was the second highest paid or third highest paid person in the U.S. government, right behind Biden was Seth Wheeler.
I met him in DC.
Yeah,
He's
fascinating
weird,
guy. He
amazing
wrote the housing
guy.
recovery plan for the U.S. And so Seth told me about Choice. He said, hey, they're going to Kenya and Nepal or wherever they were going, Guatemala that year. And he said that I should take a look at them. And so I got connected and went to Kenya, had a great time, and decided to give just kind of donate some of my time for a year to the organization. Did that for a year, decided I really liked it, and said, gosh, I'd love to stay involved on some level, and got put on, I guess, a variety of different hats through an organization called Singular Humanitarian, which takes a group of singles on expeditions with Choice. They partner with Choice. They do the marketing and that kind of stuff. Anyway, so yeah, long story short, I just started leading expeditions about 5 years ago, and have been doing maybe one or two, maybe even might even be 3 this year.
And I take it, Peter, that after 6 years of being involved with the singles trip, you're married now, right?
Of course.
No?
It's my job.
Another 6 more years for Peter. Peter's my favorite
Something
bachelor.
about girls don't like it when you leave town for a week and don't have access to a phone.
Yeah, so, and then Peter's also spent time kind of uniquely interning for another organization, living in Ecuador in the closest town and municipality to where we work, which is pretty rare. So also co-led one of our first expeditions to Ecuador about 8-9 months ago. And so a lot of experience with the team there, which is unique, and a lot of experience outside of expeditions living and working in the area. So just a great resource in that regard. And then Keith, as Keith mentioned, has been here at Choice since I've known Choice, 14, 15 years. And as the Ecuador team has kind of come into the organization, Keith's really been the point person for them in terms of all field management, communications, direction. So really strong relationship with the team and a wealth of knowledge about Choice generally, our approach to development, our other countries. And also just one of the friendliest, most thoughtful people, certainly here in our office, definitely in our expedition leader pool. So great group of leaders. You guys couldn't be going with better folks. I do want to just take a minute to introduce a few of, not all of, there are 2 team members who aren't pictured here. But I put the in-country team up. Off to the right, you'll see Raquel. You'll meet her in-country. She's the in-country director. She speaks wonderful English, actually, has spent time studying here in the U.S. I put them up here not so that you try and have to remember them now, but so that you know kind of now that your expedition is kind of under the support and management of obviously myself here getting ready, but Keith and Peter as your expedition leaders. They're going to work very closely from the minute you arrive till the minute you leave to a large network of support with the in-country team. So the in-country team here, they're the ones who manage all the development work long before we're there, long after we leave, and also all the logistics, coordination in country, safety, security, things like that. So I put them up there so that you all know that there's a really cool team of people that I hope you open up kind of the mindset to treat as fellow expeditioners. They can become friends. They're part of the reason, I think, in every country why many volunteers stay connected to Choice is through these relationships we end up making with the in-country team. And we're kind of a global family here, and they're just great. I just got back from a few weeks or a little over a week with all of them, and they're just wonderful. So, and kind of by means of introduction from them, just some points on choice generally. So Ecuador and Peru are newer parts of the organization, but they're coming into an organization that's been around, for well over 30 years now. Founded by a professor and practitioner in development, Dr. Mayfield. He's still on our board. And not a lot of people know CHOICE is an acronym, and it kind of means two things. Center for Humanitarian Outreach. That's really the project and program work that we do. And then Expeditions is what fulfills the intercultural exchange. So for, all these years, probably everyone in Utah either knows someone or knows a friend who's been on a CHOICE expedition in some capacity. And that means for 30 years, a version of our expedition program has been taking place, learning from and supporting our work. But expeditions are actually not what CHOICE does. And that's the only note I'll give here, that our CHOICE model of development is much broader than just expeditions. And so we have a team footprint in currently 7 countries with kind of program history in Vietnam, still some programs there. But in each of our in-country teams, or countries, I should say, we have a team, just like the one I showed you, of anywhere from 5, like in Ecuador, to 15 to 20 in Mexico. In Nepal, there's some bigger programs going on there where there's 30 staff, essentially. But in every country, we have a native in-country team. They're working at any given point with between 10 to 20 communities. All of those communities are going through a cycle, a leadership cycle of development. And this is really CHOICE's approach to development. And it kind of looks like this. The model for CHOICE is oriented around leadership development at a community level, and increasingly at kind of a more what you could call county level. But our teams work with community leaders to help them identify commitments to change. They work through existing community leadership structures. They do a lot of team building, network training, business development training, and kind of grassroots community organization. Communities themselves develop with CHOICE kind of in-country but specific development plans related to their community. So what are their priorities? What are their needs? And then CHOICE with their in-country teams, technical support, funding from communities, from other partners, from CHOICE, will then carry out projects and programs under the management of those very communities. So CHOICE comes in, trains leaders, helps them carry out their own development, celebrate, evaluate, and repeat. So that model of development's happening with, let's say in Ecuador, Keith would probably know the exact number, but say 10 communities, right? Of those 10 communities that they're working with, 1 to 3 will receive an expedition plugging in. That percentage is about accurate, and sometimes much less in all of our countries, right? So what expeditions do is they really plug in at this celebrate and evaluate phase. Expeditions come in at a phase of a project, sometimes the beginning, sometimes the middle, sometimes the end. The expedition supports our projects in a couple ways. One, financially. By going on an expedition, your fees are broken down in a few ways, covering in-country costs, funding the project that you're actually working on, and then funding projects that you will never work on. Projects that might be in Ecuador, might be in Kenya. So as a social business, the expedition really creates an opportunity to fuel the work we do. And then, as you will all find, by going, there's an intercultural exchange that's very powerful for participants, but is equally as powerful for communities as well. To work together, learn together, feel that kind of cross-cultural support. And that's why CHOICE has really kept the expedition program over 30 years. It's a very strong component to what we do. So any questions, just stopping right there on kind of the model, things like that. You'll have a lot of time in country at nights to learn from the team, et cetera, I think at a much more granular level. But any questions right there? All righty. So with that, some of you have been on expeditions. Some of you know weird people like Peter who have been on expeditions and probably get that expeditions are not, they're for weird people. This is not your average package A vacation tour, right, where everything is predictable, everything is controllable. Expeditions, I think we got someone joining us here. Hello. All right, he made it. Wonderful. Come on in.
Or if you want.
Yeah, you can grab a seat wherever. Perfect. So, so expeditions are expeditions for a reason, and that reason is there's a bunch of stuff we can control and plan for, and then there's everything we can't. And your experience comes out of the gray, messy blending of those kind of two realities, right? So right now I throw this out here, not so that you freak out, but so that collectively we kind of switch to that mindset that there are things we know and can control and generally control, right? Or at least know about. And that's everything on the left, okay? We can know that, but a lot of it's going to change. And a lot of things that we just simply don't even plan for are going to develop, good and bad. But the way we navigate that collectively as a group in country completely determines the experience. And people navigate all of these things differently, but everyone comes out, I think, finding that this dynamic is what makes these types of experiences one of a kind, because there's no way we can repeat this experience. What you guys will experience will be unique to you all, and no one will ever have that again, right? And so the idea is identify your expectations right now. Start to think about your points of discomfort or sensitivity as even you look at this, right? And I'll pull out maybe one of the most common things we experience or navigate. For example, project goals. We're going to talk about those today, right? Clear parameters around a project. Once we get into the community, all sorts of things happen. Weather happens. A death in the community happens. An interesting activity presents itself. A wonderful detour to someone's farm that's way further than they said it was arises. And the idea is to be present and open to those changes and go with it. And sometimes that means, wow, we didn't advance as much on our type A U.S. mentality towards the project. Maria, you're exempt from this. But we, but sometimes we have to step back and look at the bigger picture and kind of understand it's both getting work done and taking and seizing the opportunities that present themselves for things that we might not expect, right? And so some of those are good, some of those are bad. Your leaders, Keith and Peter, as well as all of you, but your leaders, their job is to make sure that when things that we know change, the group is aware of that and that the group navigates that with some options, and that when things that we don't know happen, everyone's prepared and supported to roll with that as well, right? So I see that now. Some people used to think like, oh, what a policy to put out just to cover your ass when stuff goes wrong, right? And it's a wonderful reality that I think makes this type of experience. So Peter, do you just want to take a minute to add some context to the area where people will be? We've got the itinerary here that, we can kind of cover this at kind of a high level, add some context for Otavalo, the area generally, and I can kind of jump in there as well.
Great. Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So this is really fun. This, like Jordan said, this is my third time to Ecuador. I've spent a lot of time there. I didn't grow up there, so I'm maybe not as well versed as you are, but we will be, I guess, flying into Quito, and we want everybody to be there essentially by Friday evening. The expedition will really start to launch that next morning on Saturday. So you can come early, you can go do things before the expedition, get to know Quito. I will be there on the 1st. If you guys want to come early, I'll be happy to kind of just hang out with you guys. I'm not necessarily leading anything in particular beforehand, but we are talking about, I think there's a couple of us talking about going to Baños. So there are some there are some pre-trip things that could be happening as well. And if you have questions as I talk, you're welcome to interrupt me and I'll answer those. So we'll land in Quito. We're going to be staying at a hotel. It's the Wyndham, which is right next to the airport. It's really nice because it's just convenient. We'll leave there. We'll go straight to the Wyndham, and then from there, we'll have an itinerary for when you arrive. Come look for me, find me, or just let me know. And then the next day, we'll really get ready to launch the expedition. We've got some really cool things planned. Among those include we're going to go to the largest market on Saturday in South America. Largest in South. It's huge. Largest outdoor market, I guess I should say. It's called Otavalo. And there's also opportunity to do a variety of things around there, which is we're kind of doing a little bit of. Ecuador presents a lot of really neat ecotourism opportunities in this area. So this map that Jordan's showing you just kind of shows at the bottom, that shows the airport where we'll land. We'll take about a 2-hour drive up to Otavalo. And I believe the plan is to do middle of the earth in the beginning of the trip.
Yeah. Because of the nature of flights, I don't know if some of you purchased your flights, some maybe haven't, but as you've looked, most arrive later in the evening. So you're going to get greeted by your leaders right at the hotel, and you're going to take like a 1-minute shuttle right to because the airport is kind of at an inconvenient location right in the middle of nowhere. But there's a great hotel kind of right there. So you'll spend that first night there, and Saturday will be en route to Otavalo. So there's a couple stops, middle of the earth, market, kind of some downtime. And then that evening will be kind of the official in-country orientation, where as a group, you'll finally sit down with a little less movement and get to meet the team and stuff like that. So that's kind of the first Saturday. And I know we do have one person who is going to get in with us Saturday due to some scheduling stuff. And so we'll get them. Luckily, we haven't gone to the community at that point. So they'll join up with us kind of later Saturday night before we head in to that. So.
Great. Okay, so then following that, we will be we'll be in, I guess, Otavalo. This is in the kind of neat thing about this area. It's right under this gigantic volcano. It's called Cotacachi, and there's a large lake here. It's one of the most picturesque places you'll ever go. Right? I mean, it's just you just can't describe it. But very green, very lush. And there's a lot of really neat things. Kind of a fun fact, I won a business model based on Cotacachi, and we'll talk more about it, but it's this leather town, and all they sell is leather. And they basically, one guy started selling leather, he made money doing it, so his neighbor did it, and then their neighbors saw they were making money, so they said, we should just sell leather. And the next thing you know, there's like 60 shops in this little town called Cotacachi that all they do is sell leather, which really works out well because supply and demand says I can go there and get a jacket now for $75 instead of $400 in the US. So it's really cool. And so we'll have some time there, probably at the end of the trip on the way back.
Yeah.
So that's Otavalo and Cotacachi. Sunday, we're going to probably leave the hotel pretty early and head out to the community where we're going to be working, which is called Vacas Galinindas, right?
This is kind of more the region is so the community itself is called San Francisco, and we'll kind of talk about that in a minute here.
Yeah, and so we'll spend the rest of the week essentially through Thursday working in that community, and the days are going to be we'll have a variety of different projects, but the main one we're going to be working on is going to be a fish hatchery. And which would be a lot of fun. Last time we were there, we did a fish hatchery in a different community, and it's just fun. Like, it's a lot of work. If you aren't gonna have to go to the gym that week because we're gonna be in the gym. I call it the Country Boy Strong Gym because it's just you're out throwing rocks and having a good time. And so I know Scott and Cammie are both MMA fighters. It's kind of a fun thing to have on the trip.
Oh, really?
Don't mess with them. Um, but they'll get their workout, I guess, for their training. Yeah, and so we'll be at a little bit of altitude on these trips, about 9,000 feet. Temperature is pretty. I'd say it's pretty mild. It might get a little bit cool at night. I'd say just you'll bring I'd say always have a jacket. There's little things always prepared for it to be a little bit cooler than you want, and yeah. I mean, you could probably speak a little bit
Yeah, it's
to
a
what
little
the weather.
cooler up there. Like
Yeah.
if you're going to Logan, I would describe it up like the Logan weather.
Yeah, and I just came back from there, and it's we'll talk packing and things like that kind of at the end, but days can be like a little hot, a little bit more humid, but it's high humidity, and so when it starts to get cold, it gets colder pretty fast. So an easy rain layer, poncho, very light, is something that you'll want, because expected that there will be some precipitation, and it does get cooler for sure at night. And so I recommend, like, for some of our higher altitude expeditions, which we're at 9,000 feet is not. That's much higher. That's double than the elevation here in Salt Lake City. For
Yeah,
example.
you could compare it to Logan or Brighton. Brighton's at 9,000 feet, and it's a mountain climate. So, you're going to see 20 to 30 degree changes in the day. The only difference is now you add like you said, the humidity, and that makes things colder or feel warmer.
So layers are key. Little backup pair of mittens, little beanie, and a jacket that you for sure know you'll be toasty in if you want. And those are kind of for your mornings and also for your evenings. So, but just think in layers there. So, and Keith in a minute will kind of talk about day-to-day expedition flow and kind of what that looks like. So we'll be there in the community through Thursday.
Yeah, and then Friday we're going to go back. We'll start making our way back towards Quito, and we'll
Otavalo.
Yeah, via Otavalo. And so we'll have another day there. That's likely when we'll get to do one of a variety of options. We're still figuring out what those could be. There's some really cool things there. There's some hot springs. We talked about the leather markets. There's the Cotacachi as a volcano has a giant lagoon inside of it, and it's you can take a little boat tour around it. And so we'll find something fun to do on the weekend once we finish up the project, and then that'll be really the conclusion of the trip that Saturday. And we'll start making our way back to the airport. Yeah, and Saturday, most folks will likely have a later departure. People are either going to extend their travel. And so Saturday can be spent also pretty comprehensively in a number of ways. Some of that can be going into Quito for the day. Some may be staying kind of with part of our team, viewing some project sites kind of as a side thing, but or also spending more time in the Otavalo area or region. And so as you develop as we get your itineraries in and things like that, we're kind of at crunch time there, and you've got questions about how you might want to break some of that time out, reach out to me, let me know, Peter as well, because there's things you can do to go see Quito easily in a day before you head out back to the airport and things like that. So options there. Any questions just on like nuts and bolts of the itinerary, arrival, what to expect, things like that?
Which transportation do we need to kind of be aware of ourselves, from airport to hotel?
No, so the minute you get off the airport in Quito, as you navigate, and prior to your departure, we'll send some information that kind of breaks down that process for those of you who haven't gone through. Because it's a really new airport. It's really nice and fast. So it's like a seamless experience. As the minute you walk out of that gate, you'll see Peter and Keith in their choice T-shirts, and right from there, you'll be with someone. Even probably during your market times and things like that, you'll be with portions of the group or the in-country team up until typically Saturday. Choice will make sure you can get back to the airport. We, based off of people's itineraries and plans, we will usually have like one or two transport options. One kind of earlier afternoon for those who might have an earlier flight, or one that is later for those who might have a later flight.
I'm assuming you can leave stuff at the hotel if you go and walk around.
Yeah, hotels, if we're there, we're safe. All the hotels will have like a lockup storage room if we're out and about. And when you're in the community, we will have a space that's lockable as well. How about any questions from those of you calling in? No, if not, so yeah, you can see kind of total coverage here. This is the community area where we'll be. So day one, in 3 hours and 20 minutes over 2 days is phenomenal. In some of our countries, we're in a car for like 14 hours. And by car, I really mean like a bus that's got, you know, it's
Chickens.
the top half of the bus is cut off and gone, and you're sitting on like 2x12s. It's like a metal frame that almost looks like you're in a cage. 6 hours. That's Peru. So this is a breeze, which is great. So 2 hours, 2.5 hours the first morning on a really nice road, pretty doable. This part, it does get really windy. So if you motion sickness and you're sensitive to that, Dramamine is something I highly recommend, because it's also really beautiful. You're like staring out the window, and
Scott or Cameron can just knock you out.
yeah, or yeah, a punch to the jugular
Choke
by.
you out. Choke you out. Sorry.
We'll solve that as well. So just a quick note on the village. So you'll be in San Francisco. So it's overall, and all the communities are pretty spread out. So a lot of families. There's a population breakdown. When you're in country, you'll get to learn a lot about the community. And so you'll spend some time with community leaders, kind of in more formal settings, doing Q&A. Communities really find a lot of pride in introducing their communities, the challenges, the opportunities, the people, the culture. So that'll be a big component. This is straight from the area, right, where you're going. It looks like a snapshot of the Shire in Lord of the Rings. It's beautiful. And so just a couple little facts, right, that are broken down, family income oriented around agriculture, farming, production. And so a lot of the choice projects in this area are oriented around helping communities kind of strengthen their ability to create cooperatives around joining forces, having the community organization in place to collaborate in the production of any number of things. And in this instance, fish hatcheries, as Peter mentioned, is a real opportunity. And some communities have histories of older fish hatcheries that have gone either deteriorated or underutilized, or haven't been set up with a community infrastructure in place to manage them really well. And so this project is much like the one Peter went on. It's going to be improving and strengthening, kind of rebuilding out. So it's a lot of cement work. There's some digging, and, you know, Peter can kind of comment to that. But on all expeditions, you know, it can be alarming to go, oh, I'm going out on an expedition. I'm not a mason. I don't do cement work. How do I fit in? A lot of phases that will fit in. And so there's definitely work to be done at all phases. And some of that work ultimately might not be related to the project. It might be spending time interacting with family, spending time learning from someone in the community. And so that ebbs and flows. And every day in the morning, and usually after lunch, you'll take stock of where the project's at, divide out the new tasks, and kind of iterate collectively as a group as you go. So by the end, an improved and ultimately functioning fish hatchery is the specific project goal. And when you get in country, you'll also learn a little bit about how Choice works with the communities. It's a really unique model. And I think Keith will be able to explain that to you with the in-country team. But in my opinion, of all of our 7 countries, partially thanks to government laws in Ecuador, and also the unique mentality that's very innovative from our team in Ecuador, they're operating in a really fascinating way with local governments, where local governments mostly are paying for the development work that's taking place. So the choice leverage of your funds into this project is actually really small. And most of the funding that Choice manages in Ecuador is done through local government funds, which is really cool. So you'll learn quite a lot about that, and this is one of those projects. So Keith, I think we'll turn it over to you now to kind of just walk through the expedition experience and housing, food. We'll kind of walk through this.
Okay, this is actually the best part of your expedition will be those 4 days in the village, and it'll be fascinating. You guys will love it. It'll be the best part. It'll be the part you most remember. You'll start your day. We'll get you up. Some of you won't get up quite so early, but we'll make sure you get up, and we'll have a nice breakfast. I can't speak for Ecuadorian food, but I've been to all of our other countries multiple times and never had a bad experience in eating. Maria, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about Ecuadorian food, but I'm really excited to try it, and I'm sure we'll have some American kinds of things to eat too as well. But I don't suspect any of us will be will have any sickness, hopefully. And then, we'll have a nice casual breakfast, and then I think we'll be out on the project. And that's always a great time too. It's a lot of work, and we'll make sure you guys are well equipped. You have your water and your tools, but this is the time to really not only work, but really interact and get to know the folks there. You'll find yourself bonding with all kinds of the kids, the adults, everybody in between. And that's really the precious time that you'll spend. So take time to get to know everybody, get to learn who they are, things about their family, share things about your family, about yourself. I'm sure they're going to want to hear that. It's a super interesting interaction as we get together. You don't need to know the language either. You guys, you'll figure that out. It's total communication.
What if you speak Canadian? Will that
that won't work?
That be of use? Great.
It looks like the living quarters. I mean, these are actual photos Jordan was telling me, and it looks awesome. I mean, we're going to be actually in a nice facility. We'll have running water. We'll have toilet facility. We'll have showers. This is something that we don't normally have on Choice Expeditions, or at least I'm not accustomed to having those luxuries. So I think it's really cool that we'll actually be living good. We'll be feeling good. We'll get good rest, and I think we'll have an amazing opportunity there.
I am going to jump in here and just put a qualifier. We cannot guarantee that you have good rest. I'm with Keith that so this is a community center structure that the community's put up for us to be in. That's for sure. We don't always have cement floors. We sometimes have bathrooms, sometimes don't. This center does, which is awesome, right? So there's some comforts that are going to, when I say comforts, like running water, I mean, you heard Keith like, whoa, running water. Like to us, this seems really nice. We will be, this middle photo here, you kind of see up there, that's the common sleeping area. So everyone off to the right, you'll see kind of a traditional layout of what that's going to look like. Day one on Sunday will look like getting into the space and having a good sense of how it's going to break down. And country team will kind of have some options there. And Peter, in your last expedition, you guys had cot options, correct? Or some of the team did, I want to say.
Some
did.
I think, yeah, what we usually recommend for this is, bring an air mattress and it'll be great.
Yeah. So so there's kind of two. So there are now, at least, I just don't know if they were in place with yours, kind of small cots for you to sleep on. That said, still strongly recommend bringing a thin camping mattress. Peter mentioned air mattresses. You're more than welcome to bring a larger air mattress. I have completely stopped recommending and almost highly started discouraging people from bringing them, only because I've sent so many expeditions trying to patch and repair and maintain them. But you definitely can. So if you have a good one that you're really comfortable with, that you've used a lot, totally bring it. There will be the space because it's a smaller group. if you're thinking to go out and grab like a lower cost one for this trip, my recommendation would be get a nicer camping kind of one-person mattress that fits on top of cots, which is great, and they're just a lot more durable. But if you've got one you've got experience with, I certainly won't
I'll
tell
totally put a plug in for REI. You can, if it pops, you can take it back.
Yeah,
and
I
they
think
will give you another one.
And they have a really great like $40 one if you don't have one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So packing list breaks this all down. But just so you set expectations right, you'll think camping. You're bringing a sleeping pad, a warm sleeping bag, some layers for sleeping, and you're going to want your travel pillow, and you're going to want all the things you'd normally do to kind of set up as if you were camping in this type of group area. And that's why I push back on Keith on a restful night's sleep is it might be warm. It might be cozy. The floor even looks nice and polished, but like you guys are going to ruin it for each other because someone's going to snore. I don't know.
This is not Kenya. Like right here, this is not Guatemala.
But someone is going to snore.
This is nice.
And it's sleeping together, people snoring, party's over, man. No one's sleeping. So earplugs are great, things like that. Plan on group camping. All right, Keith, I'll let you jump to this next slide here.
Hey, Jordan, I apologize, but I'm going to have to head on now. My daughter's she's trying to catch a flight to Calgary. She's pursuing a master's degree program at University of Calgary, and I got to get her to the airport.
All right, another Canadian.
Yes, a Canadian. She actually wants to
be.
You know, Trudeau's her favorite person now.
He's just so handsome.
All right, well, I'll see all you guys down there in Ecuador. I can't wait to meet all of you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Keith.
See you, Keith.
Okay, adios.
Let's see here. Let me try and remember now how I go back to everyone. Let's do this. There we go. Great. So Keith kind of mentioned this as well. Days mixed up. Working in the morning, you'll go over plans. Kind of morning and at lunch. There's going to be times to play. One note that I would just add on times to play. This is also kind of in your packing list. But things to bring, oftentimes people ask, what are the types of things I might want to bring? Peter, do you want to explain in expeditions what you like, what you find helpful when people bring and what not to bring?
Yeah, so, I mean, a couple things, we'll probably get to this a little bit more in the slides, but we love the intercultural exchange. So something that you do or enjoy doing that you can then share with the community. And so that could be, I remember playing baseball in Kenya, and they had never played baseball, and trying to convince them not to hit me over the head with the bat and how to run the bases and what a steal was. And it was just this really cool intercultural exchange. So things like that, sports, if you bring a soccer ball, you will have endless fun with these kids, and they will school you because you're at altitude, you're at 9,000 feet, and they're used to it, and we're not. And it's just fun. Things not to bring, I would say, are necessarily like toys to give to kids. We're not in the business of gifting. And I learned this a long time ago. And it's actually why I love Choice so much is this one rule that we emphasize and we really encourage highly and so whatever on the trip. Because if you start giving something to a kid, whether that's a piece of candy or a toy, all of a sudden you're going to have 75 kids on you or more, and you're not going to have that much. And the other thing is they don't have toothbrushes in a lot of these communities. So now you've just made their situation worse because you're introducing something they don't have, and they're not used to sugar, and they have no way to get it off their teeth. So now they're going to have cavities, and then they have no dentists, and it perpetuates a bad cycle. Things that are also good though are like nail polish. I've seen a lot of the girls will bring nail polish and they'll paint the girls' nails. Totally cool. Love it. Why? I mean, it's so cute. I think some of the guys do it. You guys do what you want. I'm not doing that. But
I leave every expedition with my nails painted at some point.
Yeah, that's nice.
So Step it up, Peter.
Anyway, Jordan's not on this expedition. We're gonna have a great time, guys. Yeah. So those are some guidelines. If you want more, Jordan.
Yeah, I can just list off a few things. So Peter mentioned any type of inflatable or foam ball, whether it could be football, it could be frisbee, it could be volleyball, soccer, things like that. Definitely more than welcome, encouraged. And we'll talk about how we do gift those at the end just a little bit. Things that facilitate interaction. So bubbles, nail polish, finger paint, all of those, if you notice, like there's nothing left at the end. It's an interaction. It's fun. Even bringing, I would recommend 10 to 15 photos maybe of your home, your family, something about your work. For those of you who don't speak Spanish, showing up and having that to break the ice and things like that is like, it's a lifesaver and it's really fun. So the idea is what's something that creates an exchange, and then at the end that's what's left. And then we gather those things up after playing around, and we can gift them to the schools and the communities, but we do that at the end to the school masters. And the other thing I would just note on the gifting thing, it is not the expectation of anyone in the community that we're going to come and hand out anything. And so that is not what they expect. And that's partly why that's our strong policy. That's not what we're there for. And that isn't the mutual expectation that the community's worked hard for. So it's important to them as well that we don't view them as a group that needs handouts.
I've seen Polaroids cameras. I think that's actually an appropriate thing you can bring if you have a.
It is. I'm torn on this.
It's a tough one, but
So sometimes we do have those, and we have a policy, and it's no individual gift giving. And Peter mentioned a lot of the reasons why we don't do that. One of which is if we don't have enough for everyone, the last thing we want to do is create friction or discomfort in a community for the family that doesn't get a family pick because we don't have one for everyone. Now, it's obviously an amazing, sometimes in a lifetime chance to get a Polaroid photo for your family. And so on the instances where one of those has shown up, there are ways we can sometimes do that in a way that eliminates some of that conflict. Like, hey, Friday or Thursday at 3:00, we have 10 families that can sign up for a Polaroid photo. The line for that is tomorrow at 2:00. Whoever's there, great. And or 20 families or however many photos we know we have, like we can structure some of those things to be clearly transparent without chaos. Because otherwise what happens is one person with Polaroid camera, 200 people, and then a heap of people who are going to show up and keep asking. And so anything that's here's for you, we don't do it. Questions from Maria?
How do you feel about jump ropes?
Jump ropes are awesome.
Okay.
Great to bring.
a lot of these things are donated to the school
Yeah.
afterwards. So they're not going to be given to any individual. We'll donate those to the school.
At the end, we'll give them to the schoolmaster, or there's a community cooperative of leaders who might run a school committee. That'll be given, usually like a farewell ceremony for the school. They'll treat it as like school stuff. And as you're playing with it in the community, the one thing that's kind of hard, but it's what we for sure everyone has to commit to do, is you'll break this stuff out all the time. After work, during work, after lunch, before lunch. But you get that jump rope out and you're playing around. The one thing that is frustrating is you got to be the bad guy and like, hey, thank you, great. We'll play with it tomorrow, same time, or tonight. And then at the end, we'll leave that all. You had a question.
I was just curious, these people, is it really uncommon for them to have a family photo?
So in this community, I'm not so sure, right? Every community is different. Maria, I don't know if you can speak to what would be this is a rural.
Like, and they do a lot of picture, like not photographs,
like
but
portraits,
paintings of their families.
They're like airbrush
stuff,
ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll see it almost looks like it's a photo that's like they've
does.
taken a photo and airbrushed it. They're awesome. But increasingly, like, it won't be unusual to see a cell phone or something like that. Technology is a great thing for rural communities, and cell access is one of those.
Yeah, we have the little
Yeah, so there'll
ones
be
that we use like
some version or smartphones even, whether they're printing them or not. But so photos, things like that. What is fun or enjoyable can be your phone or an iPad or something like that, a tablet, for just taking photos and interacting just with the taking and watching photos, filming little videos of just kids playing around, sitting down and watching those is a really fun experience as well. So, and again, nothing's left and things like that. Learning is a big part of expeditions. A lot of that is going to be organic. Ask questions nonstop. Do not hesitate to see something that you don't understand or that looks unusual or that looks maybe contradictory or anything that you're interested in, that's uncomfortable, that's curious. Ask questions. Your leaders and the in-country team are there to help you get answers and to answer that themselves or to facilitate discussions with communities to understand as much as you can. And so don't let language be a barrier there. Dive in, get curious, and then a lot of learning will also kind of be facilitated with the in-country team and your leaders. Some opportunities at night to break down and unpack what you're experiencing and seeing and learned. And also just sitting down in more structured ways to talk with the in-country team and hear about their knowledge of the areas and some of the problems that they're identifying, and also with community leaders too. We'll be invited into some discussions with you all as well. So that's a big part of it. And then, of course, celebrating, dancing, and having fun. I'm not gonna spend much time on this. I've already kind of hit home the idea that this is a non-traditional way to get out to a very non-traditional part of the world, right? There's really no other reason you'd visit this community outside of this type of experience. And so a few things that we found over 30 years that tee people up to have a good experience: flexibility, a good sense of humor, right? Peter will help facilitate that. And then a third one here is mindfulness. And I just talk about it in a few ways. First, starting now to be very thoughtful just about how are you prepared? Are you not? Are you concerned? Are you not? Eliminate your discomfort to start asking questions or signal you're concerned about something and go for it. We have a Facebook group that I don't know, Peter, you might want to invite.
I do. Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. If you're in there, I don't know if you're very active or not on Facebook. I do encourage questions to go in there because then everyone benefits from that discussion. Peter and Keith and the in-country team, myself, will be pretty responsive to that. There's already some good content in there.
I'll put my number and email. You guys can call me anytime, text me anytime.
Yeah.
Like we're all a group, we're all a family. Just happy to answer any questions.
So yeah, questions there. But so be mindful of kind of how you're doing. When you're in country, it's really important that you're thoughtful about what's making you comfortable or not, what's frustrating you or not. If you're feeling physically okay, if you're working too much, too little, be thoughtful about that and reach out to fellow members of the group or your leaders to navigate that for sure. And then just being mindful. In this instance, we're one of the first choice expeditions in this area. This is the first in this area, right? And so be mindful of the fact that we represent choice in-country team, and the trust that they build with political networks in country is not easy as an NGO and things like that. And so we represent that. And then, we represent our country. And I was just in Ecuador for almost 2 weeks. And even in rural communities, people are more curious now about the United States than I've ever experienced in all of my traveling. I can't say it's an excitement to learn about the United States, but there's a curiosity there. And I don't by any means say that to be political, but just that we also represent the United States. And I've noticed it's a great time to give a positive impression abroad from the United States, particularly in rural communities who might see or hear who knows what. But the curiosity is definitely there. So we represent a few things in country. And then just our last rules. We talked about no gifts. Any questions on that one? No? Other things that can be helpful to bring ultimately to leave to the community. Things like pencils and papers, those can usually be secured in country at lower cost, things like that. Some things that can be fun if you have them or you have access to them. Younger, like English, Spanish books that are oriented for kids, with maybe both words, basic that have kind of that are meant for dual language kind of learning, can be great additions to school libraries, things like that. But otherwise, the kind of items we mentioned, no proselytizing. We mean this in kind of two ways. Choice is a non-denominational international development organization. We are not a faith-based group. And so as a result, certainly between the group and the community, that is not the common denominator. Although things like faith and religion will be a big part of discussion and as you learn about cultures and communities, but as an organization, that's really important. And then because expeditions are bringing people from all over, there's kind of two topics that are never that helpful in a group discussion, even if it's a family you've been a part of for 33 years, right? And those are typically politics and religion, right? And I think right now, politics, certainly post-election, those can be topics that are fun and engaging, but ultimately like not that helpful for positive group dynamics. So just that we ask that everyone be mindful about the group dynamic and focus particularly as you're getting to know one another on the topics that flow well. And then, certainly you shouldn't avoid who you are as people as you get to know one another. You're going to come out of this very close, whether you like it or not. But that's something that we try to maintain. And then this last one, no promises, is much like the no gifting. Even a promise as small as find me on Facebook, add me, send me this photo, email it to me. Like that seems like we can do that, but any promise that you can't fulfill while you're in the community for 4 days, don't make it. So if going to your farm tomorrow after work, yeah, I could probably do that. We could probably make that happen. I can come meet your kids, but no, I don't know if I can email you information on, their range. There's all sorts of scenarios. The important thing is that is not the expectation that their communities have. And that's what helps maintain the respect and trust for the organization after we leave. So this is now, you all have access to this subsequent information here. This is just some of the logistics. Ecuador is a very easy country to travel to. No visa requirements. You get it when you're in country. No required vaccinations. And there's really above and beyond the basic ones that we strongly recommend you get. We can't require you to get them. You're more than welcome to come if you don't. But for international travel, they're recommended. Those are listed here. I do recommend that all of you, if you haven't already, we're getting kind of to the window, but if you haven't traveled abroad much, visit, set up an appointment. You can usually get in pretty fast at either the Salt Lake County or the University of Utah International Travel Clinic. Takes an hour, costs $40, $60. I'm not sure how much, but they'll walk you through like, okay, you're vaccinated. Which ones should you probably be up to speed on if you aren't already? They can do them right there. Most importantly, they can prescribe you a few important prescriptions that are good to have for international travel, unless you have a doctor that could otherwise do that. Some for diarrhea, some for a general antibiotic. Those, if you have any questions on that, but Choice expects your leaders are trained in first aid and they'll have some medical equipment there, but Choice and prepared to accommodate a range of things, but Choice really expects travelers to show up with the medication and stuff that they might need, right? And so bring everything you would want to bring for motion sickness, diarrhea. A lot of that's over the counter, but that clinic can help you get kind of the more vaccine and immunization stuff.
Make sure your passport doesn't expire within 6 months of the trip. That's something I'll highlight on there. That's Does show up as issues in the past.
Yep. Which is like sadness for, I guess you could get it in time still. Currencies in US dollar, which is awesome. That makes it easy. So you don't need to exchange there. I would recommend bringing more cash than you would normally travel with directly out of the country. There's ATMs, you can still get some in Otavalo, but to eliminate your initial fees, since the first Saturday you'll be in the market, you'll have time to use more cash than you probably would on a first day. And so you might as well show up with that. It's the next day. That kind of eliminates needing to deal with ATMs out of the gate.
Smaller bills are good too.
Yeah, smaller bills, 20s.
Coins, they love coins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
smaller
you'll get a
smaller
lot
bills
of
and
dollar
20s.
coins back and change. So.
Yeah. Electricity is also the same, which is great. And we've talked about food.
What are the prices like there, food wise?
Cheap.
Yeah.
So $1 there goes a lot further than $1.
Yeah, because I was eating like a lunch for $1.50 to $3.
Yeah.
And it was like you get like your main entree, then your like dessert, and you get
And your juice
soup.
drink.
You always get soup with your lunch or your dinner.
Yeah, for $2 here, you get 2 spicy chicken sandwiches at McDonald's. I think is the going rate of $2 here. So it's phenomenal. Okay, packing stuff. Again, this is all here. We've covered kind of things that I for sure want to make sure you guys don't forget, like camping,
Are there
sleeping.
any questions out there? Are they on mute?
No, they're not muted. Any questions out there? Nope. Did you make it home? Nice.
Yeah, I made it.
So other things, just in terms of packing, stuff like that, you're going to be on the move quite a bit. You know, one hotel this night, another hotel the next night, community. So you're getting in and out of your stuff a lot. I recommend you don't need like a backpacker's backpack. That can be helpful just because you're hauling stuff a lot. But don't feel like you have to work with that. You're not going to be carrying stuff into the community. I recommend like bigger duffels that you do like zipped pouch is inside for all your different clothes. So you can kind of take those out, get in and out of. That seems to be the easiest and most convenient. And you're going to be living out of that luggage while you're in the community, kind of setting that up next to your sleeping section, and in and out of that. So you'll want a little bag for.
Is it common to do any form of laundry there? Like
no.
So just kind of bring.
You can actually do it because we're going to be in Otavalo Saturday at the end of the trip. You could
in Otavalo, at the end of the trip, yeah. That Friday night, you could probably get something done. While you're in the community, sometimes it's definitely possible to rinse, wash. Really difficult to guarantee anything will dry. It's humid, it's moist, it's hanging out to dry, and it's probably going to stay moist for like, or you got to be available to get it in the sun. We're not always around then. So plan on not. I typically bring one pair of clothes that I work in, like some good jeans, and like a shirt, and I'm probably working in that. That's what I change into every morning, and starts to get old and alarming for people by the end. But then when I'm done working, I change out of that, and I've got like 2 outfits or whatever that I'm wearing, and like a backup work clothes. So you really don't need like a fresh outfit every day. It's really about working in one every day, wearing another one at night, like.
I wear the same clothes every day.
Yeah.
Jordan, you're also minimalist though. Like Jordan wears like the same thing like every day.
I have one outfit and I wear it my entire life. You see me any day of the week. There's blue jeans and a white shirt. Okay, I recommend that approach on expeditions, but don't feel like you need to not bring what you need. Get your duffel, bring what you need. That's how I handle that. Like. Especially for those traveling after who, don't want to be hauling around a ton of dirty clothes, things like that. You can get by with that.
One thing in particular, just because we're going to be working on some manual labor projects is leather gloves
Yep.
of some sort. You will want them. You will wish you had brought them, and I would circle it. Maybe bring a second pair, just in case someone else forgets. I mean, they're just. I will do that, but bring a pair, and you'll be happy.
Would the mechanics type gloves be good too?
Those are like rubber ones that are like mesh, sort of.
They're
gloves.
intended for working on cars, but they're not quite as thick as leather.
You want to catch a piece of riprap, a rock with. If I'm throwing you a rock, however you want to catch that, that's the glove you want to use.
Okay.
That's going to be part of the work we're going to be doing. So you can get the softer ones that are kind of like whatever, but generally some kind of leather.
From my experience, the mechanicking gloves work really well when you're handling like metal objects, but they usually have mesh fabrics incorporated into them, and if you're handling a lot of dirt or soil, it'll get really embedded, so leather tends to work a little bit better with soil.
Okay.
Kind of two gloves I see people bring. Good leather ones, and then there's like a gardening glove that's got like a rubber traction for like a little bit finer work that you just between those two you should be good. Still things like sunscreen, all the classic stuff that you would normally want to bring. Water bottle is kind of a staple. Again, a lot of this is listed here. Any other questions? Packing, logistics, stuff like that?
One thing it paused was sugar cream. Sugar or something?
Yeah,
I don't know where to find that.
yeah, that is, I mean, this is like bed bug bite cream. If you feel like you've got kind of fleas, any cream that you might want to have for bug bites. So this could be, cortisone cream, bug bite cream.
There will be a lot of moths. I will call that out. Expect a lot of moths. It's Ecuador. There's a lot of everything you can imagine.
Furry giant
There's
moths.
furry moths. and one thing we haven't talked about, Ecuador is just great. I mean, it's got a very temperate climate year round. And I mean, the mountains it's colder, but it's where all the hummingbirds go. I mean, that's like when they migrate. There's a lot of diverse wildlife there, and hopefully we'll get to see some of the birds while we're there. So,
Mosquitoes.
I'm sure there's
There are mosquitoes. We're at a higher altitude, fairly high altitude that reduces certain types. For example, like Zika is not a concern in the whole area where we're at. But mosquitoes are around. Yeah. I was just there. I was at a little bit of a lower elevation, and they were around. Wasn't too bad. Yeah, bug repellent though, like all the kind of normal things out. Just because, you'll be working in a lot of lush kind of grass and vegetation, and
if you just go down this list, I mean, like a week before you travel, look at this list and make sure just go to the grocery store, make sure you've got that stuff. This is actually my packing list for when I go anywhere now. I find this list. So.
and
Sorry, I don't know if you had said what, how cold is it at night?
Yeah, so it'll get cold. The temperatures are up there. Like days can be between mid 60s to 70s, right? That's the range there. Nights dropping between high worst case scenario like mid to high 40s, likely mid 50s to low 60s around there. So that's kind of our range. So picture early spring type, So layers. Okay. The idea is just layers for sure. A nice like fleece type layer, probably one jacket, a down jacket or something like that you're like, I know I'll just be warm when I have this. Nights and mornings are typically when that's nice to have. And when it comes to higher altitude areas, I just recommend bringing what you want to be really warm just in case, because we've had expeditions where we can, we know the temperatures and there might be a couple low nights that come in and it can just be be tough. So
One just specific thought is pack your clothes in. Make sure when you carry on that you bring an extra pair of clothes. We have had luggage that's not made it to certain destinations that we've gone to until the last day of the expedition. So you can, if you pack an outfit in your carry-on, an outfit, if you bring 2 bags or whatever, just make sure you have an extra outfit in a different bag than your main bag. That way you've got at least 2 outfits that you can jump between. I don't anticipate that. It's pretty easy to get to Ecuador. It's not like we're going around the world, but
and we do have enough time. We depart for the community.
And we have Otavalo that we can buy some.
Sunday, likely after lunch, and so we've got pretty good lag time for should anything not show up to make it by the time we leave. So, which is great. So anything else? No? All right. Well, that's content-wise everything we've got covered. Just things you can expect between now and the trip. Facebook group, again, I encourage everyone, any questions, put them in there, reach out to your leaders directly for anything else that you might have. We do still have space on the trip in case anyone that you might know might be interested to join. And you'll probably get a call from Peter or Keith probably about a week or a little bit more before the expedition. They might reach out to you to coordinate that, just to touch base as you got packing, any final questions, things like that. And then material-wise, applications, you'll want to get those either emailed to me or in the email instructions we gave you, there's an email, expeditions@Choice Humanitarian. Either one of those or both. Get that into us, your flight itineraries when you have them, your proof of medical evacuation insurance. It's kind of the little checklist there of those things. But those are the most immediate. They just kind of help us, particularly your flight itineraries. I'd recommend getting those now in place so that we can kind of plan transportation and things like that around that.
Can you email that to me, or is that on the Facebook?
Do you have?
You should have got an email today from Jordan. I actually passed it along, so make sure that I keep it on.
Yeah, I think I did email it to you, but let me make sure I got your email right.
Yep.
Cami27. All righty, yeah. So it's all in there. Cool. Any other questions?
Evacuation insurance.
Yeah.
You listed the 4 places. I went on one of them, and it listed, I think, every medical evacuation plus just to travel, and it's combined.
So
it's like 150.
Yeah. So have you purchased your flight yet? Okay. So some of those places they have packages that are broken down, and sometimes the medical evacuation insurance will be included in like a larger one, which is probably what you saw, which gives it a higher price. There are other ones that are not
expensive.
Yeah. So I think you definitely can get the basic budget. I mean, the basic medical evacuation insurance in and of itself is not that expensive. $20 to $60 is what you could expect. Just be aware that as you're shopping for that, some of the providers that sell that might package it with other insurance things that aren't required by us, but you might still want. I don't know. Trip insurance, cancellation insurance, medical insurance while you're in country, other things like that. And so that can fluctuate the price a little bit. But AIG, there's an AIG one that allows you to buy just the basic medical evacuation insurance. And I think that contact was there as well. And you can usually get it when you buy your plane tickets as part of some insurance. Who did you buy your plane ticket through?
My nephew.
Okay, no problem.
It's American. I could ask him for that.
Yeah, if you've already got it, then you're probably good. If you haven't bought your tickets and you buy it through the humanitarian travel agency that you work with, they have a very low-cost insurance package that includes that as well. So if that just makes it easy.
So all I need to say is, I wasn't sure. I never bought that before, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, just
what you guys were looking for. Just the medical.
Yeah, and I think on 9, I think it's page 9 and 10 breaks down a little bit of what that is. So, well, great. I'm excited for you all. it's always sad to not be going on the trips when we talk about it for a while. But. Great. Well, if that's it, then we'll kind of wrap up. And anyone else has questions, you can hang out here for as long as you need to. And we'll see you all over the coming weeks.
And I buy Ecuadorian candy.
Oh, nice. Bye.
I was wondering what that was.
They're not candy canes.
They're not? What are
It's called melcocha. It's a sugar cane candy.
they? Okay, I want a pink one. Oh, it's like taffy.